birthday. You'll never look any older to me. Love, Edward. Oh. Happy Valentine's Day to the girl who stole my heart. Love, Edward. On our 40th anniversary, I may regret the years gone by, but never with whom I spent them with. Love, Edward.
Hi everyone, we're Vocal Minority, one of Sarah Lawrence's a cappella groups. Some of us have all taken class with Fan, and we just wanted to sing a song in memory of her.
So hello and welcome to our celebration of the life and the work of Fan Scheier. And this video clip that you just saw is a piece that she did for a PBS local station just about 3 years ago. My name is Dave McRee. I know many of you. Fan and I shared an office for 25 years. During that time, Fan became my best friend, my biggest cheerleader, my most vocal supporter, the person I turned to when the world didn't make any sense. In other words, just what many of you experienced as students with Fan. I had it every day at work for decades. I've never denied that I'm a very lucky man, and I offer this as solid proof. But every one of you know this Fan, this woman who opened her heart to so many of us. So I want to make sure I also speak about the artist, Fan. Fan taught one of the most essential, most popular, most important classes in our program. Improvisational Lab was her creation. And many students signed up over and over to get the wisdom that Fan offered every week. Some of those students will be on the stage today to talk about their work with Fan, and many others are sitting in this room. Fan's teaching came from her early training and her passion for the theater. Fan loved the theater. And we would talk endlessly about the plays we saw here at School of the plays in New York and London and Williamsburg, the plays we saw before we met, the plays we hope to see each season. And Fan loved great acting, great writing and directing, and was deeply distressed when a performance did not transport her as she knew it was meant to do. So you've heard that. And Fan loved her students, jumped right in with their struggles, applauded louder than anyone at their successes, came to our office after every class, trembling with excitement about the work and talent she had seen that day, urging me to cast this one or that one, pushing her students better than any agent. Believe me, Fan loved teaching, loved the intensity, loved the give and take, the growth she saw in her students. Fan loved. Fan loved. Fan loved. And we are here today as witnesses, as beneficiaries, as inheritors of all Fan has offered. I know that I will not have Fan in my office again, but I cannot say that she's gone because she is inside me, urging me, applauding my victories, consoling my losses, asking me to sing for her. I know for the rest of my life, when I sing, I will sing for Fan. Now, your program today lists the people we have here to speak about Fan. Our first three speakers are the people who lead our college and our program. Let me introduce our first, our Dean, Kanwal Singh, followed by our current and then our previous department chairs.
Thank you, Dave. As Dave said, I'm Kanwal Singh. I'm Dean of the college, and I want to welcome you on this very beautiful spring day, which I think is quite fitting for an afternoon that is really a memorial celebration of our colleague, our teacher, our mentor, and our friend, Fanchon Scheier. Fan was a very talented actress, as many of you know. She was a member of the Robert Lewis Acting Company and a tremendous educator. She began as a member of the Sarah Lawrence College Theater faculty in 1985 and had 32 years here, which is an incredible dedication of one's life. As Dave said, she loved theater and she also loved language. Through her art, she explored very deep emotional connections. She brought all of that creativity to her classes and inspired and guided her students to do the same, to express their own passions through their art in the theater. Her classes on dramatic improvisation and acting, as Dave just said, were a rich, perennially unique part of our curriculum. Her level of support, her encouragement of her students and her colleagues was legendary, as evidenced by the audience here today. I'm sure that some of you in the audience know this, but when Fan wrote evaluations of her students, she didn't enter them through the online system. She wrote them longhand. Right? Our very patient registrar never complained about any of that. But they really were a labor of love for her. An evaluation from her was inspiring and inspirational. It was deeply felt, and it quite literally had her personal magic touch. You know, people, all you theater people, you're always talking about, you can't get tickets to this, you can't get to see Hamilton, right? Forget it. But let me tell you, one of the hottest tickets in town was Fan's table at the Senior Dawn dinner. Her table was one of the liveliest spots under the tent, and student after student made sure to come by, whether or not Fan was the official Dawn. It was important to make a special effort to get to that table that night. If you asked me to sum up Fan in just a word, the first word that springs to my mind is warmth. She was really one of the warmest, loveliest souls on this campus, always quick, with a bright smile and words of encouragement. It was absolutely palpable how much she loved being here at the college. And she was doing what she loved so much right until the very end. And I have to say that the idea of that, of doing something that you love so much until the end of your life, that is a mark of a life well lived. So even as we mourn our loss, I think we have to make this afternoon a true celebration of the life and work of our friend Fan Scheier.
Welcome to Fan's other family. She was the soul and spirit of the theater program, and I believe we were her other family, and it was a lot of competition. She was beloved by all who crossed her path, from the first class to the last. As her students grew and became actors and writers and directors, her advice and her support was always there. She deeply believed in the artistry of acting. And when I first came here, she was the one I had some of my deepest conversations with. We loved to talk about the masters, Stanislavski, Adler, Strasberg, and her mentor, Bobby Lewis. She read them all, she could quote them all, and she could motivate any student to be truly honest on stage. And I so admired that, and I learned so much from her. It's not easy some days to get honesty from some students, and Fan was a master at it. Fan was also dedicated to the faculty of SLC in many ways. She found a way of being there for all of us. A kind word, a phone call at just the right time. Something happened to your husband, your child. You weren't in one day and you weren't feeling well. The phone would ring and it would be Fan. She would see a show in a tiny, claustrophobic, off-Broadway theater because you were in it. And she would come in smiling. She saw every show in this season for years. And she had this wonderful, supportive way of always telling me the truth. I could rely on her. If she didn't like something, she would come into my office and talk supportively for maybe 2 sentences. And then she would clutch her heart. She would lean in and she would say, "Where was the passion? Those actors had no passion." When there was a student that we were all worried about, for many reasons, maybe they didn't like acting, maybe they didn't like their teacher, maybe they were going through something at home, no one could motivate them, I always called Fan. "Fan, would you take them in the class?" Yes. Within a semester, they were thriving, they were soaring, they were really members of the community. I never understood quite how she did it, but she did it every single time. I admired her passion, her prowess as an acting teacher, her generosity and love for all of us. And I know, as a director of the theater, we can't replace her. Her being, her essence was so unique that we will suffer from her loss. And the only answer to me was that we need to incorporate what she modeled for us as teachers every day, and what she modeled as another faculty member in learning how to work together and how to give to each other. It is so rare, and we just hope that that will, as Dave said, be a part of us forever. Because we loved her too as a sister, like a mother, as a devoted, dedicated artist, and as a brilliant educator.
Sorry to disappoint, I am not Shirley Kaplan. My name is Jun Ekman, a good friend of Fan's and Shirley Kaplan. Shirley has recently had a knee operation and is still recovering, and we will see some words that she has said. But on my own, I really miss her. We spend a lot of time together. They put us in an office outside the building and upstairs. The 2 oldest people in the department. Was that a plot? I don't know. But we stayed in Dave's office and spoke together. Our backgrounds were very similar. and we had a lot of Yiddishkeit together, which you may know that she actually understood. And I really miss her. And you will hear a few words from Shirley Kaplan, who was the chair of the department. And Fanchon was particularly fond of Shirley because Shirley hired her, of course. And she always said, "Do you know that Shirley hired me?" I said, "Of course." You know, it really bespoke of her sense of never taking herself too seriously. But she was a wonderful person and a lot of fun to be with. And I hope you enjoy this next part.
I am so sorry that I'm not there for this memorial for Fan. From the moment I met Fan and she started to teach in our theater department, I felt a real kinship with her warmth and her humor, and just her whole idea of the deeper you go, the more honest you are. I think one has only to see the last shot in the film that she made, in the cutting of it that I saw, where it just shows Fan at a table, looking out at the world with complete honesty. Your students loved you. I loved you. Every birthday, I have 17 necklaces from your mother's collection. Every birthday you gave me one. Every morning when I came in and we decided whether we were going to have coffee or go to the pub or what, because our offices were near each other, you were in David's office, we would talk about students and we would talk about life and we would talk about our children and we would talk about what we wanted to do. I tell you, my life would have been very empty and the program would have been very different without you. Pure speed.
So this being live theater, we have changes. I got a text earlier from Alexandra that she is caught in traffic. And is that Alexandra waving to me now? The curtain is open. The actor enters. We continue on schedule. While she's coming here, I will tell you that our next three speakers are distinguished by being faculty members here at the college who actually took Fan's classes as part of their work here. So Alexandra, you can come on up. You can sit over here when you're done. The stage, however, is yours.
Oh my God, is this not perfect for an imperfect situation? You know what, I didn't want to think about this at all because I was feeling so emotional, but I thought that one of the things I would say is that, I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, but Fan, when you called her, would always answer the phone. "Oh, it's you. I'm so excited it's you. I was just thinking about you." And you know, and she really was, because she thought about the people she loved all the time. She was thinking about them and worrying about them. And one year, about 7, 8 years ago, after I had my daughter, and we had lunch every year in the new year, right after the new year, and she would almost invariably tell me, "So, have you met anyone?" and you know, rarely had I, but that one year she just took my hand and she said, "You know, you really deserve to have somebody. You really should have somebody like that in your life." And so I somehow it landed on fertile ground, and I went to check my OkCupid account, which I'd given up on. I'd so given up on, and there was an email there where there was an email from a man named Elijah Neely, who I married 18 months later. And that is there is a direct line from Fan's heart to my wedding and the life that I've lived since then. So I want to read a poem that she and I both love, which is an Emily Dickinson poem. Part 1, Life, 32. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land, and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Thank you.
I had the great privilege to study with Fan as a grad student. I was a little older than most of the kids when I came back, and my wife Susan used to say that I was going through my midlife curriculum. So going to Fan's class, for me, was incredible. I took her the first year and the second year, and we continued to be great friends for 19 years. But there were some days going to Fan's, it was like going to the dentist, or it was like, because you knew you were going to spill it. You were going to get there and you're going to bleed out. You just ate at Bates. You could hardly walk. It's down and downstage. But you went because you didn't want to disappoint her. One of my greatest life achievements was having Fan dedicate one of her improv exercises after me. It's titled Coming Home from the Asylum. Yeah. Fan loved taking students to lunch. Fan loved doing lunch. Down at Rosie's, you break bread, eat some pasta, and spill your guts. Say, I am not gonna say a thing. And 2 hours later, you leave there and, what did I do? What happened? She didn't say a thing. Oh, God, she was the best listener, right? I mean, in this film that Kate Riley did, which I think we're gonna see, which she sent to us over Christmas, was so devastating because anyway, Fan had a way of making you talk, making you want to share and confide. She knew the places touching your heart, and she always gave you the space to speak. I knew so little about Fan, her own life, but she knew everything about mine. But when you told Fan something in confidence, that it would stay there forever. But she did love to gossip. Not maliciously, It's just stuff. She wanted to know, how's it going? How's it working? Are you acting? Anyway, she, for 30 years, listening and investing and believing in every young, walking, wounded student that passed through her doors, that she helped heal with her generosity and her spirit and her enormous heart. I'm almost done. Oh, God. You always knew how, no matter how crappy your life was, there was one person out there that believed in you. And no matter what you did, what atrocities you committed, who you wronged, who you hurt, who you betrayed, she overlooked all those flaws, and she found the humanity in this person. And a lot of them were underdogs, She was always taking care of people that no one else could figure out. And she made them better. Anyway, Fan, you were always my biggest fan. I'm sure that I'm just one of thousands that believe this to be true. Because when Fan listened to you, you knew you were the most important person in her life. And I know deep in my heart that I was the original.
Hi, I'm Alan Lang, and I'm so honored and touched to be speaking at Fan's memorial. And I'm a bit nervous because I want to do a good job, and because I love you, and because you always did a good job. When I first came to Sarah Lawrence, Fanchon was already a legend. And it did not take me long to realize what everybody else already knew, that she was a remarkable woman, special, beautiful, a woman with an extraordinary talent for teaching. She loved to teach. One of those remarkable teachers who connects deeply with her students and who guides and nurtures and challenges with the hope of making important discoveries that lead to artistry. A teacher of intelligence, wit, charm, depth, revered, loved, respected, and cherished. To be accepted in Fan's class is like being a member of a lifelong club. Once you were in, you were in. And those deep personal connections that she made with her students last a lifetime. She was also very generous and kind to colleagues, and she was always spreading goodwill and as if you were a member of her own family. And I thank Fan for her loyalty and fidelity and for being a most cherished friend for many years. One snowy night last winter, she and I we saw a show at Sarah Lawrence in the Cannon Theater, and it was snowing really hard, and we got to the parking lot, and I offered to take her home, and we didn't live far from each other, and she gladly accepted, and she guided which way we should go, and because the roads are sort of hilly where we live, and I told her that I was a good driver. And that she said, I know that you're a good driver. And I said that I like to drive in the snow because it reminds me of my Midwestern roots. She spoke about the deer that lived in her neighborhood and how they ravaged the plants. And she was worried about Lyme disease. And she asked me if I ever missed living in Manhattan. And I said, sometimes. And she said she wished that she would be back in Manhattan. And was really grateful for the ride home, and she thanked me. But I have to say that truly the pleasure was all mine. Fanchon was a mainstay of the theater faculty show for many, many, many years. And I don't know how this spectacle dare go on without her. For some years, she and I, we were in this skit together with Dave McCree singing a song to the tune of Coca Cabana. And she played this very dramatic heroine-like figure, and we would rush together, and then she would depart, and I would be left standing there. But it ended up like we were in this big heap on the floor, like arms and legs twisted, and it was sexual, it was fun, it was daring. And I really wish that we had a photo of that event to put up there. I really do. A few months ago in December, we were going to have a meeting in Sound and Movement room upstairs, and she had, before anyone arrived, sat down to play the piano. And it was such a special moment, and I was in the room, maybe one or two other people, and in her playing, and she played beautifully, and she loved show tunes, and it sort of reminded me of the love for life that she had, the love for truth, for honesty, for pleasure, for expression, for music, poetry, painting, and for theater, and of course for her friends, and for love. When I got the news that she was gravely ill, I went to her home as soon as I could, and there was a sweet healthcare worker who answered the door and let me in. And her husband Saul greeted me warmly, and he led me to the side room where she was. And he warned me that today wasn't going to be a really good day, and didn't know what her reaction would be. But there you were. There you were. The Fan I knew and loved, eyes closed, breathing rather heavily in a state somewhere between dreaming and awake. Every now and then uttering a soft murmur. And the sweet healthcare worker said, Lang is here to see you from Sarah Lawrence College. Your friend Lang, your colleague from Sarah Lawrence College is here. And she heard that. And I was holding her hand, and she squeezed my hand. And I said a few words, and her eyes opened, and I, for a moment, knew that she was there. And I was filled with this flood of emotion. And I was so grateful, and I am so grateful that we had shared that moment. Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. I can't believe she's gone. I look around, I expect to see her in Dave's office. I expect to see her sitting in a theater. I expect to see her sitting there smiling any day now. But I won't say goodbye. I'll say au revoir. For the country to which you have gone, we all will someday visit.
I want to be clear, I don't know what he's talking about. There's Copacabana, that's not true. So now we have 4 former students to talk about Fan and how she's influenced their work since college. We start with Rachel Solomon.
Hi, I share Alan's nerves, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but it's embarrassing, but I guess I share Alexandra's dating advice that I received from Fan. She set me up on a blind date once that didn't go well, and when I missed her call the following week, she thought I was angry at her because she set me up on a bit of a dud of a blind date, but I was not angry at her. I just missed the call. When I was thinking about what I was going to write for today, in fan fashion, I'll be honest, I really struggled. And not because there was too little to say, but because there was far too much. Too much to express, and I feared that there was no way that I would ever find the right words to convey the feelings correctly and to do them justice. Then I thought about what I would do if this were a scene, and I was approaching a scene in Fan's class, or if in that class I was watching an improv, and it was being acted out in front of me, and the actors were wandering around on stage aimlessly. And inevitably, one of the first questions Fan would ask after the scene was over was, well, what was your objective? So usually the actors would kind of shrug and give some kind of over-intellectualized Sarah Lawrence answer. And it was immediately clear that that was not the, and I found it hard to describe this, but the sucker punch to the gut, deep need that Fan wanted and knew was needed to make the work sing. So back to writing. I asked myself, what's my objective here? Is it to try to get everyone to understand what an amazing, kind, patient, talented, extraordinary teacher, director, mentor, friend Fan was? And the answer is no, because you already know that. Everyone who met Fan, even briefly, knew that. I can remember prospective students sitting in on her class, and they left gobsmacked. You know, these 17-year-olds had no idea what had just hit them. Her gifts and her warmth were palpable almost immediately. I always knew that everyone adored and respected Fan, but when I heard that she was sick, I felt such a need to send her all of our love and support and to make sure she knew what she meant to generations of artists and students. And I always worried that she didn't really grasp the full scale and importance of her work and her caring. So I asked for videos from students that wanted to reach out, that I mostly knew personally, so that I could get them to her quickly, because I wasn't sure how much time we had left with her. And what I got back from the community was staggering. The number of people who said that Fan had, in a very real and profound way, changed their lives was overwhelming, to say the least. So suddenly, this became an even more difficult task than before, putting all of this into words. So I thought again about what guidance Fan would give me, and the guidance that she had given me on so many things over the 12 years I'd known her, both as an actor and just in my life. Problems everyone faces with family and relationships and just tough choices. And she would give me permission. Always allow me to be myself, authentic, vulnerable, broken at times, bad, wrong. But she never made me feel bad or wrong. My voice was always valid. My feelings always supported. And it's clear that is what she gave to all of you too. For me, after Sarah Lawrence, Fan became a friend in addition to a mentor. And she didn't disappoint either. She was the most loyal, generous, loving friend. Fan never forgot my birthday. I have a lot of necklaces too. Often called because she said she was just thinking of me or was hoping I was doing well in a way that even family never did. I'll forever treasure those conversations and lunches and lunch dates at Rosie's or the Capitol Grill when she insisted on meeting me in the city because it was more convenient for me, the 25-year-old, instead of Fan, the 75-year-old. And she affectionately called those places our places. But wherever Fan went, it felt like your place with her, the place you and she shared. I envied many of Fan's gifts, but perhaps most was her ability to listen to a person or watch a scene. Her focus, her concentration, I'm sure we all remember watching her watch a scene from time to time. She always leaned in, noticing her beginning to move her hands closer and closer together, willing the actors to make a connection physically or emotionally, as if she was orchestrating a beautiful symphony. Or the excitement you felt when she locked eyes with you, one of you, across the room, or touched your shoulder while a two-person scene was taking place and she decided you needed to enter the scene. You were the missing ingredient that would fan the flame. Being in her class, in her presence, was thrilling. So while we all grieve for her loss, and rightly so because it is a profound loss, I'm trying to focus on what we've gained. And I think that is my objective, or my goal. To focus on what we've gained because we were blessed enough to know this incredible human being who helped us explore what it means to be human in all its complexity, the light and the dark, who helped us discover our bravery, to be fearless through tears, to never look over or discount anyone, how to listen and be heard on stage and in life. I hope someday to have half a Fan's ability to lock in with someone and make them feel like who they are and what they are experiencing is all that is going on in the world for that moment, to truly connect. I remember Fan saying that quote a lot, only connect, and I always loved it. I knew she had said it was from Howard's End, but I didn't know the whole quote, and I didn't know the context, so I looked it up recently, and it just became all the more fitting. And it goes like this: only connect. That was the whole of her sermon. Only connect, the prose and the passion, and both will be exalted, and human love will be seen at its height. Live in fragments no longer. Only connect, and the beast and the monk, robbed of the isolation that is life to either, will die. I continue to learn from Fan, and I hope I can live in a way that she'd be proud of. So thank you again, Fan. Something I think I will be saying very often over my lifetime. I love you.
My name is Anthony Yeager, and I'm a lifelong student of Fans, and I plan on continuing to be a student of Fans. Of Fanchon. To think of Fanchon is to conjure the depths of what it means to act, the summoning of some mysterious darkness and light inside you, the roaring of universal emotions teeming with the power of the moment. One moment. That's all it takes. Add them together in a scene of dramatic improv, and like a volcano, erupting from the ocean floor, the most violent and beautiful sight anyone has ever seen, new life gets made. The landscape of a world on stage, built moment to moment. I was blessed to be Fanchon's student for my 2 tours of duty at Sarah Lawrence. 20 years after first hearing the fervor in her voice, that endless wisdom that poured freely and uncensored, every time we spoke, inside or outside of class, I'll never stop listening to her speak to me. But this has nothing to do with me, or even us, or even this theater. This gathering today is a celebration of someone as rare as they make human beings, in that place we call the stars, or heaven, or mystery. We share a common understanding of our rare Fanchon. We know that she taught with the same power she held as an actress, that her classroom was her stage here at Sarah Lawrence, and her reach stretched beyond the classroom and didn't end when the semester or school year ended. She still touches us, here, right now. Her essence survives in everyone privileged enough to have known her. Fanchon challenged us to know our characters on stage, the past history, motivations, and she knew instantly if we were playing it safe in a scene. She didn't ask us to rotten it up simply to get us all nasty with each other. She asked us to make choices that deepened the urgency to the point of breaking. And then she trusted us to let it break into a million splinters of emotion on stage and still find our way. Still make that one choice and live with it. It was gut-wrenching. Each dramatic improv scene is meant to leave all involved, including the audience, utterly exhausted, yet pining for more. That is Fanchon to me. I now beg for more from her because she embodied what it takes to keep this world alive and fresh, to keep us guessing, reaching, striving, to accept what ails us and make something of it. We all want her back, but maybe we already have her. Each of us a different page of her book, that luminous notebook she carried with her. The notes scribbled down, the brilliance captured in her script on each page. We possess essences of her now. May we always do her life justice by living ours, moment to moment. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Robbins, and I'm an alum of the Graduate Theater Program. And I had such trouble writing this because I couldn't stop crying. So, anyway, it was October 17th, 1998. I was sitting in a front row seat waiting to see a Yiddish cabaret at Sarah Lawrence College. I am a lover of Yiddish language and culture, but I had never seen a turnout like this. The theater went dark, and music began to play. There were wonderful poems, heartfelt monologues, and beautiful songs. And then a woman came on stage, and she began reading a letter from a Jewish immigrant who had been deserted by her husband and was struggling to feed her children. The letter implored the editor of the Forward, a Yiddish newspaper, for advice and help with this most untenable situation. Thank you. The reader's voice conveyed the woman's anguish and confusion, heartbreak, and desperate hope for an answer. She bore the weight of her suffering children, the weight of her grief, but she stood there and she pressed on. She was humanity. She was extraordinary. She was Fan. That night, I didn't know that Fan would become my teacher, my mentor, and my dearest friend, but I knew she was poetry. She was earthy, gut-wrenching, raw poetry, and the yearning of the human heart. Months later, I entered the graduate theater program at Sarah Lawrence and made my way to Fan's improv class. There are a few teachers that in some way change your world forever. Fan was that for me, and so much more. From the moment I entered her classroom, I felt part of a world that was somehow deeper and more profound. She recognized the sacred in everything, in every moment, in every person and event in life. She was so exquisitely attuned to each student's spirit, helping them to uncover their hidden truths and to find their full voices. I can still hear her saying, "What does your character want and need? Find the pain lurking underneath the surface. Connect. Press on." She infected all of us with her passion, her drive, and her belief in us. And she inspired me to go beyond, to dream beyond, to be fearless. She gave me the courage to push the limits, to excavate the remnants, the unwanted, and the shamed. And she embraced me for it. Fan was a giant of a human being who understood what was important in life and the frailties of existence. She became a most cherished friend. We were kindred spirits, and I adored her. We shared our love of literature, of theater, of lipstick, of a great cup of coffee at the diner, of eggplant and artichokes. Fan was love. She gave, and then she gave some more. She was my biggest fan and always there in my corner. In my own teaching and directing, I have used everything she taught me, passing on the gifts to a new generation. And on the last day that she taught at Sarah Lawrence, I was privileged to be there with her, to witness her artistry, her genius, and her devotion to her beloved students. Fan pricked the walls of my imagination and opened my heart and made me brave. And I miss my dear friend. Thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing some of Fan's wonderful students who are presenting something special. Some of her most memorable sayings that urged us all forward and made her the incredibly special person she was.
To rekindle an old flame, the birth of a baby,
to make a life-changing decision,
cemetery,
waiting for a loved one to return,
to say goodbye,
rotten
it up. The character is in action, struggling, Stanislavski. You must use yourself in order to transform yourself. Fan Scheier.
Uta Hagen's 5 W's. Who you are, where you are, what you want, why you want it, and when you want it.
We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Oscar Wilde.
I was so angry, I threw a chair. Fan Scheier.
Wounded but not slain, I will lay me down and bleed a while, and then rise up to fight again. John Dryden. or as Fan would like to say, that man whose name I can't remember, but I say.
Great art comes from using oneself. If theater is a way of knowing oneself, improvisation energizes that process. Fan Scheier.
Improvisation forces you to use the pain and the joy in your life. Use it and then move on. Fan Scheier. Press on.
Would you like some tea?
I was reading about the latest space mission. One of the astronauts is filing an absentee ballot from space.
I think that's wonderful.
Is it?
He gets up and he goes to the shelf and he starts making tea. No matter what it is or how into it I am, I can't not watch him literally boil water, you know? And I don't know what it is.
I understand. I do.
I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
I'm sorry I wasn't there.
What happened?
I forgot the honey.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Riley, and of course I was so nervous too, but you understood that was a comedy. So that's so great, and it's especially nice to be back. I studied with Fan all 4 of the years that I was at Sarah Lawrence. She was a hero and a friend, and she taught me a lot of important and sometimes painful lessons that I would not have accepted from anyone else, because as Christine was saying, for some of her pricklier students, Fan had, a unique blend of lovingness and candor, and she was the only person who could teach some lessons. So last fall, I made this short film, of which you've just seen an excerpt. The film, and I think you got this already, is about young-ish people who think that they are providing care to an older woman, when in fact they're looking to her for comfort. So obviously I thought of Fan and only Fan to play this role, and I was a little nervous that she might not have the stamina or the time with a full teaching load, but she was very excited to do it. And Saul, she actually volunteered your home to shoot in. But I told her, no, that's okay, we'll figure out a location. The film was partly scripted and partly improvised, and I gave her free rein in that regard, of course, because I wanted to use the fullest possible range of her abilities. And her work, of course, was spectacular. This is very brief, but I think you can see some of that. Her choices were, as always, exciting and unexpected and moving. I was holding my breath, watching her the whole time. She was a vital, passionate scene partner, and it was great to see her just do that for once, to be the performer and not step in. And as always, Fan was delighted to work with new actors. Between takes, she would grab me and whisper to me about how impressive they were, and she would find out their stories, and then she would turn to them and ask them more questions about their families and their training and what she could see them in next. Those conversations between takes were incredible. Fan also told me that she was as committed as ever to teaching. She had no thought of retiring. She told me in great detail about her current students. She asked me about old ones. She told me more about her family. I think all of her students feel that we know them. And we made plans to get coffee this spring and for me to sit in on her classes. I had originally thought that I would introduce the film, so I don't have a great closing remark, but though I didn't tell Fan this at the time, I think she would want you to know that I didn't feel remotely ready to shoot this in the fall. I was about to leave town and I thought maybe I should wait until the spring when the script is in better shape, when I'm more confident of my ideas. And that perfectionism is something that I've always struggled with, as so many of us do. And what a horrible thought that is now. So this is a good reminder. Never wait. Plunge ahead. Resist perfectionism. If I had waited, after all, it would be one of the great regrets of my life. And instead, I'm left with a treasure. Thank you.
Now you realize that Fan really spent the second half of her life here at Sarah Lawrence. There was a before that. Yes, this is an early headshot. Yes, her resume is on the back. And no, you can't see it. However, we do have Joan Vale Thorne. She knew Fan years before she came to Sarah Lawrence, and she's here to tell us about this lovely actress. Joan.
Thank you to Christine and to Dave and to Fan's family and to all of you for letting a stranger in. I just have to say that my husband tells me, or tells everybody else, she could cry at an aspirin commercial. So I've tried to figure out the verb an actor should use to resist tears when they're inappropriate, and the only thing I can think of is to blame, or to take revenge. So if I sound a little angry, that's the reason. Once upon a time, that's the way I should start, because I'm going to tell you about a fairy tale of a friendship that began 50 years ago. When I took I'm getting angry now, so listen. I took our 4-year-old son to his first day of nursery school. The teacher greeted me excitedly with the news that there was another mother here who was also in the theater and that I must meet her. Now that teacher didn't know what you and I do, that not all members of the theater profession are soulmates. But Fanchon Scheier and I were. Although the feminist movement was just beginning to dawn, many professional mothers didn't practice their professions. They were too busy washing diapers and driving carpools and doing the dishes. Both Fan and I relished our roles as mothers. I really think we did. Don't ask our children. But we managed to squeeze into our domestic bliss long discussions of our teachers, our great gurus, Stella Adler for Fanchon, this is the early guru, and Sandy Meisner for me. When the children were safely ensconced, I use the word safely, loosely, in school, we dared to stick our noses out from under the domestic tent. And along with another of Stella's students who lived in the neighborhood, a lovely lady named, an actress named Carolyn Zinn, we established a little traveling company. Who knew that Fanny was a producer? I have a real problem because one of my other closest friends is named Franny. Her name is Franny Sternhagen. So I'm a little addled anyway, and the problem is great. Anyway, when in our little, we called our little company In Stages because we thought we would grow into some remarkable repertory organization. And we mounted extravagant productions of masterpieces like Lady Audley's Secret, in which Fanchon not only acted but sang very beautifully, I must say. And then we graduated to a multimedia site-specific production of something we called capital I, Witness. And in that production, Fanny played a scene from Pirandello's As You Like It. I kid you not. Can you believe Pirandello's As You Like It with Carolyn and my own dear husband. Later on, I borrowed her husband to play the baby in an enlarged baby carriage in Thornton Wilder's infancy. You can't have a more intimate relation than that. About the multimedia site-specific production, we didn't know we were in the vanguard of a great movement of site-specific multimedia. We just thought we were doing what was expedient, and furthermore, it was cheaper. And as a director of those projects, that was my role, I got to see Fan up close and personal act. And I am here, I have an expression for it, cross my heart, hope to die, witness that she was quite remarkable, enchanting and or moving, but always a dedicated servant of the text. It was never about Fan, it was always about the play. Does that surprise anybody here? When we reached our maturity, we got restless. It was Fan who inspired me to take an open workshop with Joseph Chaikin. Now picture, if you will, because Carolyn was with us, 3 proper suburban matrons doing mirror exercises, or better yet, wrestling on the floor with some rather fragrant, unwashed young actors whom they weren't the least daunted by our age. It was Fan who got me into that. Then on we went to Bobby Lewis's style workshop, and you know from others who have spoken that he was very special to Fan. Where there we racked our minds and our souls to find the spine of the play and the spine of the character and the image for the play and the personal associations we had and all the rest of Bobby's rubric. We took our work as seriously as open heart surgeons, and in this case I was acting with Fan in a scene from, I kid you not, Le Misanthrope. We began to believe that we were actually learning to act truthfully on the beat. That was Bobby's saying. Not mumbling or scratching or fumbling without any style. It was Bobby who said, and she must have told all of you, if crying were acting, my Aunt Rivka would be a star. Then came the last part of the fairy tale, and the best part. I was teaching communication when the children were young in order to teach acting at Pace University in Westchester, and I was offered a job at Juilliard. Did I deserve it? We won't go into that. It didn't take me more than a minute to call and ask Fan if she would possibly take my place at Pace. Oh, and she said, I've never taught before. I don't know if I can. And I said, Fanchon, trust me. And she did. And the rest is history, your history. I'm sure you all know, and you've already been told, that Fanchon was a theater junkie. And Saul, her husband, was her facilitator. They saw everything. I tried to keep up. And we always compared notes, as she did with Dave and many of her other friends. the comment she most often made to me about the acting was, "Joni, did you think they really went far enough or deep enough?" Well, that's the story of Fan's life for me. She went farther and deeper, here we go again, than any other human being I've ever known. She was a giver, a giver. And she was also what I think she thought all art should be, a gift. And I think she will live happily ever after in every student and every friend she ever had. Thank you.
So our last three speakers, these are some of Fan's colleagues here at the theater program. Cassandra Medley is the first.
Have you studied with Fan?
Yes.
So for 28 years, I've had the privilege of asking that question to my playwriting students. Because theater is a unified entity. And those of us who imagine characters on the page have to learn how to act them out, have to learn that someone is going to give us the privilege of acting out our words on stage. And it was such a privilege to coax, force, emphasize to my playwriting students, have you studied with Fan? Get into Fan's class, get up off your tush, play characters, play the scene, play the honesty of the beats, learn what the musicians, that is the actors, learn what they will undergo to explore in depth the character whom you have imagined. 28 years ago, I was asked by Shirley Kaplan to teach here at Sarah Lawrence, and at that time, the department was quite tiny. There was Shirley, of course, there was Jun Ekman, there were two gentlemen who, unfortunately, I don't remember their names, they taught acting, and I was the first playwriting teacher, and there was Dave McCree, and there was Fan. Instantly, I was the beneficiary of her gracious kindness, her warmth, her cheerfulness, her encouragement, and her support. And sitting in on her classes taught me how to teach, how to encourage, how to push, how to stand back, how to listen, listen, listen. Very soon, we were much more than teaching colleagues. We were abiding friends. 28 years of hers, hello, darling. How are you, darling? What's happening? Her advice, our exchanging personal and professional insights, our lunches on campus and dinners before attending the student plays, the performances, enjoying theater in New York and London, and her making the effort to attend my own readings and performances and productions of my own plays. Hello, darling, how are you? Her focus, her wit, her interest and pleasure in hearing about my own romantic adventures. So it wasn't just with the students. And just observing her devotion to her students for 28 years, observing them being transformed into concentrated young actors with the ability to express a wide range of emotions as they came to a more in-depth understanding of themselves. So, of course, such a day as today is inevitable. I want more of her presence in my life. We all do. Her generosity, her integrity, her insights, her laughter, her wisdom. It has been my great good fortune to have 28 years of Fan in my life. And the greatest tribute to our teacher, our colleague, our friend, is to continue to dedicate ourselves to the calling of our art. Believe me when I say her students were so beloved by her. So in that spirit, she loved literature. I want to read a short poem by the Chilean poet Pablo Neruda. If I die, survive me with such sheer force that you waken the furies of the pallid and the cold. From south to south, lift your indelible eyes. From sun to sun, dream through your singing mouth. I don't want your laughter or your steps to waver. I don't want my heritage of joy to die. Don't call up my person. I am absent. Live in my absence as if in a house. Absence is a house so vast that inside you will pass through its walls and hang pictures on the air. Absence is a house so transparent that I, lifeless, will see you living. And if you suffer my love, I will die again.
Fan loved musicals, as do I, and it was one of the many areas that we came together on and interests that we shared. She loved in particular a musical called Fanny, but I think that the coincidence of the names was actually sort of a minor part of her interest in the show. It's a very tragic love story, and as we've heard today, and as those of you who knew her know, she loved it dark. She loved it tragic, and certainly Fanny is a tale of cruel fate in which the young lovers do not get together in the end. She loved the title song from the show, which is, the song itself is called Fanny. And whenever she heard it, or even if she was sort of had it running through her head, or she maybe was singing a few bars of it, she always made a particular gesture, which was like this. She'd do Fanny, 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 and she'd do this. She'd sort of trace an arc through the air. Fanny, 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 like that. When she was very sick, I went up to see her with Cass and Dave, which I knew would probably be the last time I saw her, and it was. And she was not really able to communicate. She was sort of in and out of consciousness, and certainly couldn't talk, and we couldn't have a conversation. But I thought, well, it's the digital age. Cass, can I borrow your iPhone? And I got her iPhone and looked up Spotify and found Fanny and found the song and pushed go. And the song came on, and within the first couple bars of the song, she went in her bed. So I knew that I'd found a way to say goodbye. We're going to hear the song right now. Samuel James DiMatteo. Come on up, Sam, and take your place. Just learned how to pronounce Sam's name. I've known him for 2 years. Samuel James DiMatteo. Here's the setup for it. It's the show is set in Marseille, in the south of France, on the Mediterranean Sea. And there, Fanny, a young teenage girl, is madly in love with Marius. But she's very shy and insecure, and she can't tell him that she loves him. She's never said anything, even though she's loved him for years. And Marius, for his part, loves her in return, but also has never said it, because he too is very shy, and also because he has a secret, which is that he longs to get away, to get on one of the ships that comes into the port of Marseille every day, and get on that ship and somehow get over the horizon and find his adventure and so forth. And he has to keep that a secret. And tonight, in this scene, he has finally gotten his chance. There's a berth on a ship. It's his. It leaves. The ship sails in the morning. He can be on it. And just as he decides to do that, Fanny discovers that he's going to go, and she comes to his room and she says, I love you. I've always loved you. I need you. I want you. And there he is, stuck between his lifelong dream of getting away and going to sea and finding adventure, and staying and being with the one girl that he truly loves. and this song is his response to her.
Long as I may live, Fanny, Fanny, Fanny. You, long as I may live, Fanny. If I could love, that's what I would say. But my heart isn't mine to give, Fanny, Fanny, Fanny. No, no, not mine to give, Fanny, for it is gone, given long away. To the sea, my one love, in her gray-green clothes, deep with wonders beyond the shore. To the isles, neath the winds, where the spicewood grows. I must know them all, or sleep no more. Here's a boy with no heart to give, Fanny, Fanny, Fanny. Not worth one tear you'll cry, Fanny. Oh, Fanny. Goodbye.
Well, I'm glad I'm not singing Fanny. I'm Kevin Confoy. Fan's commitment to her students, and in particular, her attendance at every single show produced here over 32 years, which I think is 9,000 different productions. It's legendary. It's certainly been recognized here this afternoon. I want to just add my own personal thanks to that extraordinary part of her legacy. Fan's commitment and generosity did not stop with the students, nor at the doors to this building. She was generous with the entire community here, and certainly to those of us on the faculty with her, as she was dedicated to her students. I am the beneficiary of a tremendous amount of Fan's largesse and her far-reaching efforts to get to every show I ever did in New York. This was not always a walk in the park. Over my 20-some years here, I had many of those productions in places that Christine mentioned earlier. Those very, very tiny, very, very claustrophobic spaces that provide real challenges, not only for the actors and the director, but also for the audience. And yet, no matter the weather or the circumstances or how many blocks it was from parking to the theater, or how many flights of stairs it took to get to her seat, Fan was always there for us, usually dragging her ample facilitator Saul right behind her. For me, she did this right from the very start of our meeting. In my very first year here, I produced an event called the Oktoberfest at EST on West 52nd Street. This is a mammoth, sprawling event of 200 shows. It's spread out over a month in 3 different spaces. And on a Saturday in October of 1995, Fan came to 4 of those shows in one day. And that particular day, as it was for many, many, many days, the elevator at EST was out of order. That meant that to get to the first show of the afternoon, Fanchon walked up 6 flights of stairs. After the show was finished, she took the freight elevator, which was filled with a week's worth of bottles and cans and recycling and the garbage from the entire building, just to get down to the 3rd floor for the second show. She then walked up a block, up 52nd Street, to the space that the 52nd Street project uses on the corner of 10th Avenue. And then an hour later, she walked back down the block to the second floor of EST for the finale. And at the end of this 5-hour odyssey, when I went to thank Fan, she instead thanked me for providing her, as she said, such an extraordinary afternoon in the theater. Really, only a truly extraordinary person would do that. The journeys on my behalf went on for Fan for the past 20 years, and I'm sure 15 years before that for others. It seemed no matter where, how long the route, that Fanny would always be there for all of us. For me, that meant that Fan went to the Lower East Side, the Upper West Side, Brooklyn 3 times, 52nd Street, 42nd Street, 28th Street, 14th Street, East 4th Street, many more times, twice to Queens. She came to shows of mine in Hartford, Connecticut, New Haven, the McCarter Theater in Princeton, and the Forestburg Playhouse in upstate New York. 4 years ago, I directed a play at the New York Fringe Festival at the theater under St. Mark's. Those who have been there know that the theater under St. Mark's is really under St. Mark's. To get to the theater, you have to descend a crumbling brick staircase, and then you have to duck down to make sure you do not hit your head on the concrete door jamb. And when you finally get in the theater, and I use that term very loosely, you have your choice of 36 folding chairs, which are barely stacked on very bad risers. The bar area is a table which is right next to the bathroom. The bar serves very warm beer in solo cups. The bathroom has 1 toilet in it. It's also the dressing room for the actors. On a Saturday afternoon matinee that 4 years ago, I could not find Fan in the house as the show was about to begin. I knew, as always, that she would be there. I had told her the show was at 94 St. Mark's Place. I did not realize at the time that 94 St. Mark's Place is a shared address. I held the curtain and ran out onto St. Mark's Place, searching up and down the block. I figured, all right, well, for the first time in 15 years, she's going to miss one. And then when I turned to go back into the theater, I looked up through the windows of the shop above, and I saw Fan sitting patiently and unfazed in Fun City Tattoo and Piercing. I don't know if she was pierced or tattooed, but she never questioned it. It was typical that she would sit there waiting for me, thinking, perhaps not unusually, that my show was in a tattoo and piercing parlor. With that show, and for many more over the years, up to and including my most recent show in November, Fan was always there and always the most generous and enthusiastic supporter. Her generosity, of course, was felt most in this building, among the generations of students she taught and mentored and supported here. And that was most particularly true of Fan's classroom space for the past 20 years downstage. For those of you who do not know downstage, you should. It is a studio theater underneath this space, down 2 flights of stairs. It is a black box theater in the truest sense of the word. It's very small. It has black walls and a black floor and black ceilings. There is no ventilation in the space. There is certainly no air conditioning, and the ceilings are about 8 feet high. It gets tremendously hot in the space, and it is always uncomfortable, and yet it is a place of tremendous vibrancy and life. Shirley founded downstage space for the student theater, and Fan taught her improv classes there. Together, they gave the space vitality. It is a place of great imagination. It has a spirit that pulses through. For 15 years, I taught the downstage producing class. The students produce a tremendous amount of work every year, from readings to fully staged plays to festivals and everything in between. In my 15 years, Fanchon attended every single main stage show. That was no matter what time the show started, which was 8 or 9 or 10. 2 times she came for midnight shows. And she was there no matter how long any one show ran, and some shows ran really, really, really long. She would stay there after as well when the show would end. A 3-hour show, say, that began at 9, I would bolt for the door, and Fan would ask me to go backstage to help her congratulate the company. This was for Fan after a full day of teaching and sometimes on a Saturday night. Her face was always there, glowing in the reflection of the faces of her students under the stage lights. For her students, Fan's presence at those shows was uplifting and empowering. For all of us, Fan's spirit has infused this space in our lives here. So that the spirit and Fan's dedication might be recognized as part of this space forever, or forever, the theater program today dedicates this plaque that will hang in this space from here on in recognition of Fan's singular contributions. In loving tribute to Fanchon Scheier, who for 35 years brought extraordinary joy and imagination to this space and to the lives of countless students who flourished under her guidance, generosity, and unending inspiration. And then Fanchon's favorite quote, "You face the pain, the heartbreak in your unconscious, use it, and then move on." Thank you.
So this part of our program is concluding, but we do have things we want you to know about right afterwards. The Musical Theater Collaborative is going to come up and work to sing for you, but once you have left, there are refreshments in the lobby. There's also the video that Rachel has talked about with students talking about their work with Fan and their memories of her. And also in the lobby, you'll find the guest book if you haven't had a chance to sign it. Beside the guest book is a bowl with small pins you can take and attach to your shirt that say, "Rotten It Up." Other things that you might need, please take one with you. And in the Cannon Theater, which is right next door, Tommy Mandel will be at the piano. Anyone who really was ready to sing now after thinking about all of this, please come in. Tommy will play with you and sing today. And upstairs in my office, Doug has a video camera. I know there are people here who need to record their feelings about this day. Please, we welcome it. Come up to my office. Doug is going to be up there, right? And he will run it with you. And in the downstage theater, that beautiful palatial space you have heard about. At the end of the semester, the students went down and chalked all of Fan's famous sayings, her plays, her loves, all of her passions on the wall. And they were left there for the break. And they've been recreated now, so you can see some of them. Please go down. I will warn you, once you're down there, an improv may appear. There are students ready, waiting, willing. Something about a family reunion, I don't know what that means. And you may just catch an improv on the fly. In any case, our singers are coming up, but after that, please take your time. Connect with friends here. Carry Fan's passions out into the world. Singers?
You Rotten it up.
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 I will always rotten it up.
Rotten it up.
Rotten it up.
Rotten it up! Love and miss you, Fan.
The actor is in action, struggling.
Personal growth.
Jazz.
Jazz.
Raise the stakes, or couldn't we do something that had a little bit higher stakes, or something that, like, what's high stakes for you?
I want, I need, I feel.
Only connect.
Only connect.
Only connect.
Only connect. Only connect.
Only connect.